All right. Let's see here. I think we are live. Welcome, everybody. If you wouldn't mind tweeting that you can see us all, that would be great. We just want to do a quick check to make sure that everyone can see us. And then we'll get started. All right. Just waiting for a few people to give us a few heads ups. There we go. Looks like there's a picture now on the landing page. We're getting there.
Great.
I'm going to go ahead and roll and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming to visit.
Oh.
I'm receiving some messages here.
Do we need to mute maybe all of our screens?
Give me just 1 second. Okay, I got some good tweets that everyone can see us. Thank you so much. All right, I'm really excited to be here and talk with you guys. I'm very excited about being here with our guests today. We have some really exciting things to talk about, especially one of my own personal things that I'm passionate about is how to engage. And we're talking with conversationalists, people that are behind the brand, that work for, within, and on the brand, and are looking to figure out ways that they can help to drive conversation and be as engaged as possible. And that's where these three people came from that we have today. I'm going to get into a little bit more about the details of that as we go, but first and foremost, I wanted to give you an idea as to where this came from. Leadtail, a great research company that we partnered with, us here at Pure Matter, got together and we took a look at how we could build a research report that looked at the behind the brand, the influencers that drive social media for the brands that we love, the brands that we admire, the ones that always stand out because of the things that they do that actually gives us a reason to engage back with them. And so I think you'll see over the course of this that a lot of the people that are looking at ways to engage, ways to listen, and ways to look at analytics, that's what we're going to do in this three-part series. Now, what I'm really excited about, too, is how this report came to be. Let me just walk you through real quickly. Leadtail and Pure Matter went through and picked 30 brands that we liked, right? We had to start somewhere. From there, Leadtail analyzed 22,642. Let's see, I'm getting pinged from people all over the place here. Everybody loves it. I'm going to try and see if I can, maybe I can let Susie know to stop pinging me here. But anyway, I'm going to try and break this down for you. Leadtail analyzed 22,642 public tweets published by these influencers that you're going to, there's 3 of them that you're going to talk to here today and hear from. That includes 9,413 links that were shared in those tweets. And we had 3,554 unique hashtags that were mentioned and 8,070 mentioned or replies. That means that 8,000 people, 8,000 replies happened from these influencers. Let's see, I hear just a little bit of noise background, so I'm just going to double check here with my panelists to make sure everything's okay. There we go. And so one of the things that I wanted to drive through and help to understand is how we approach this. We looked at the executives, we looked at their mix of shares, we looked at how they influenced, we looked at how and analyzed their Twitter handles. All this was done on Twitter. That was the best way that we can do a research report with using an open social media platform. And then we took a look at all of that and categorized them based upon their outcome. Now, the people that you're talking to here today are conversationalists. So we define conversationalists as people who had a mention to tweet ratio of greater than 0.95, the greater than 1. So that was like most of these, especially the 3 that you're talking to today, have a 2 to 1 and even greater ratio of responding to people that are engaging. Which means almost every tweet they publish is mentioned by somebody. And all these conversationalists are regularly sharing links, but at a rate of somewhat lower than typical amplifiers. They are much more on the conversationalist platform. So that's the topic of today and what we're going to cover. So what I wanted to do first is introduce you to Tammy Canizaro. She's the Vice President of Marketing at IBM. She's driving IBM as the recognized leader in cloud solutions. A lot of big stuff on cloud going on right now. Leading a global performance marketing team responsible for the rollout of 16 data centers and a global marketing program to build IBM's leadership in cloud. Not a small problem or a small challenge. She has definitely a lot to accomplish here. And the next person I wanted to talk to you about is Lorena Hathaway, a good friend and also another great brand, Pitney Bowes. She's the Director of Global Product Marketing in Location Intelligence at Pitney. She's been promoted into this position to fully enable Pitney's software sales organization to successfully take the location intelligence products and solutions to market. Also representing the voice of the customer and in product management. She's got also a lot of work to get done there at Pitney Bowes. It's no small feat as well. And then last but not least, we have Jeanette Gibson. She's Vice President of Customer Experience and Community at Hootsuite, one of my favorite social tools and platforms out there. We're using Hootsuite today to actually track the hashtag and converse with you guys, as it's only fitting that we do that. Jeanette leads the global community organization at Hootsuite. So a pretty tall task to take on. The community team is responsible for global outreach of the company's 10 million and growing user base of social media professionals who use the free, pro, and enterprise social platform. So she's the champion for customer experiences and serves as strategic consultant to customers of all sizes and levels of social business maturity. So obviously someone who's helping to evangelize the very category that she is in for this, this webinar. So that said, thank you 3 for joining us here today. I'm going to take 30 minutes to ask you guys some questions and then we'll move forward. Let's see. Hopefully I'm not freezing anymore. Can you all hear me okay? Maybe just give me a thumbs up. I think Tammy can't, or I froze on her, or she froze on us. So we'll start with Jeanette. Jeanette, why don't we, I'm going to ask you here a quick question just about being a conversationalist. Let's start off with something fairly simple, since that's something that you're really good at. What do you define as a conversationalist, and how do you approach being a conversationalist?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be here, so I really appreciate that. I'm honored to be part of the report. I think of conversational as someone that is really focused on listening and engaging and having those two-way conversations. So, you know, being in the social space, I think it's really exciting to be able to meet so many people over Twitter and feel like we know them when we're really only just tweeting with them. So for me, it's having those two-way conversations, and I think about how I can share something and add something to the conversation. I think that's one of the things that I've tried to focus on, is what unique perspective or opinion do I have if I see a report, do I have an opinion about that? Is there a certain part of the report that sticks out to me? that I want to share. So I try and think about what opinion I want to put out there, and always trying to be interested in what is happening instead of focusing on being interesting. So that's something that we go by is just be interested in the audience and share my point of view. And I focus a lot on, if someone's following me or retweeting me, I can look at their profile and see, where they're from, what some of their interests are, and try and use that as a way to kind of get to know that person and engage.
Great. Okay, so let's see. Let's make sure that, real quick, I want to make sure that you are being seen here on the screen. We're just going to do a quick check. I can't do that. Yeah, it's not an option there. So give me just a quick second. I'm just going to make sure that you guys are being seen here on the screen.
Great.
There we go. All right, let's move on to Lorena. Lorena, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Thank you so much for being here today. And I wanted to ask you a question as well about what it means to you to be a conversationalist.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's creating that sense of community and finding synergy between what I am doing right now and what is relevant for me and what is relevant for other ones. And just having that connection, right? Because sometimes we just push information out or we just retweet information, but when you go and engage with things that are happening right now around you and people are connected with that, I think that that's very meaningful for everybody who's engaged in that conversation. And I agree that it's like two ways, right? When you're just sharing and then engaging and then listening and listening others speaking, not only in Twitter, but then you connect those Google Plus world, and then you go to LinkedIn, you see that similar conversations are happening. And I think that that is when people really see that you are doing this real time and they are relating with that, and then becomes, like a massive force.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Tammy, how about yourself? Welcome here, first of all, today. Let me switch you over here now to present to everyone. I now have that ability to move around here. Let's see. There you are. What do you believe it means to be a conversationalist on social media?
Tammy, you're on mute. We can't hear you. Can she hear us?
Yeah, I can't hear her either. Let's see.
How about
Tammy,
now?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, now I can hear you.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. So, in the early days of social media, I think we treated social much like advertising, where we were pushing out messages, and using it as like a micro, advertising platform. But today, I think, we've started to realize that the real power of social is in, as individuals, as employees, and also leveraging our customers and myself personally, really working to engage in your community, and whether that community is, a community of employees or customers, to really make sure it's a two-way dialogue, and that you're using it to get feedback or understand your customer better, or thank a customer, or engage someone in a dialogue around your brand.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So now let me go back around again and ask you guys some specifics. What are some ways that you find you get some real quality engagement? It goes above and beyond just a thank you. Lorena, why don't we go with you first?
Lorena's on mute now. We keep going back and forth on mute, huh, Brian?
I love it, right?
There she is.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I did some couple things that I found like interesting, and this is like kind of like a game, right? You try things, you're not expecting really sometimes to work, but then sometimes people pick up and you see the passion behind that. I remember one time, one of the products that we have that is a GIS technology called MapInfo Pro, we did couple conference, and I remember just, having a coffee, and I took a shot of the coffee mug, and I was like, hey, I got this in the conference, and then everybody starts sending me different things that they got in different conference. So we start like this kind of like gaming about sharing what you got in conference a couple of years ago. So sometimes something that is being easy and like kind of like in a fun way becomes kind of like a trend. We did that also with a map contest that we did something fun and for good, and our customers were mapping that. And still today, I have some people sending me maps and say, "Hey, look at what I created with this data and the technology coming from Pitney Bowes." So it's like fun to see that sometimes it's not just retweeting or thank you someone for sharing your information, but also engaging in kind of like in a fun way. I think that's something that I can relate and I can see kind of like a wave that goes from one side to another one, and it keep coming and going, right?
I love it. I love it. And Jeanette, what do you think about that?
I think making that personal brand come alive, right? By taking stuff that is personal to you and sharing that. And I think what is most fun is to kind of show your personality, and especially when you're representing a brand, there is that personal brand and corporate brand. I find that events are really fun ways to kind of inspire new ways of people to share their experiences at events. And whenever I'm speaking, I try and think of, is there a conversation that we want to have or something that is fun and interesting? And one of the things that I've seen with the audience is sometimes they will then take a quote of what I've said and put it in a slide and share that on Twitter. And I think that's a brilliant best practice if you're at any event, where if there's a quote you like, to pop a graphic in that and share that. And I've had some really interesting conversations with folks that have done that, the events that I've been speaking at or events I've just attended. But we had a funny experience when I was speaking in New York at one of our user conferences, and we were talking about content marketing, and I've been speaking a lot on content marketing lately because that's so important for word of mouth. And this colleague of mine had talked about this analogy she uses for content marketing, which is the 80-20 rule, which is, you want to have 80% kind of business content and 20% kind of personal fun content in your strategy. And so we have the analogy for the mullet, where we talk about like 80% business in front, 20% party in the back. So when I was speaking, I had a picture of a mullet and tweeted about the 80-20 and the mullet. So then we got this kind of hashtag social media mullet thing going on. So it just made it fun and interesting. So I love finding metaphors or analogies to kind of lighten up the mood and kind of inspire engagement and get some interesting discussions going.
Thank you. Thank you. And Tammy, how about yourself?
I love those examples, Jeanette. I think we also can use it, as you talk about, fun content and content that your audience is going to like. We use it often as a test to understand what types of content for our content marketing that our customers like to engage with. What do they respond to? Do they like really deep technical knowledge? Do they like funny? Do they respond to silly or quizzes? And we actually have been learning, I think, what are a little bit more about our customers through social, how they like to engage with the brand, and then trying to use that to double down as we create content or as we create deeper campaigns. And then also, I would say I agree with events are just a great way to drive social. I love that. People actually write that and write one of the highest.
That's an interesting code. This is like code. You have to decipher the code on Twitter.
Hey Tammy, I think there's a connection issue here. Oh, she's back. Why don't we'll keep the conversation moving and let her broadband catch up. One of the things that I know is really, part of what I wanted to talk about here today was also how do you drive a personal brand with when you're working for a brand? How do you see the two together? How do you see it working? What's allowed? What isn't allowed? Why don't you talk me through that at your brand, Jeanette?
So that's a great question. We have definitely the acknowledgement at Hootsuite that if you are going to be talking about Hootsuite, that you look at our social media policies and guidelines and, of course, act in a professional manner. But also it's really important that we have the voice. So we do have kind of the Hootsuite voice that we've talked about, which is to be empathetic to our users and to show your passion for social media and to love what you do. So we definitely encourage people at Hootsuite to all share whatever is appropriate and professional, and we actually haven't had any problems with people kind of mixing that personal and professional because our audience are social media managers. So, you know, we make sure that that's available for people to look at the guidelines around not sharing, for example, you know, confidential materials that go internally or, you know, anything from a QBR. I mean, that type of stuff is pretty obvious to all of us now, but we do ongoing training and education to employees and try and do contests and things so employees can share their passions. But I think it's important to understand, like I use Jeanette G as both my personal and my professional. I don't have a Hoot Jeanette, for example, handle. Some people at Hootsuite do. They have a handle with the company name in it. But I also participate on our Hoot community, on Hootsuite handle, on Hoot Business. So we definitely have it set up where there's workflow where I can participate in the corporate handles with the team, and then I do a lot of engagement personally, and I actually really love that I can engage personally with the influencers and the people that are in my network. I think that's one of the benefits. So, you know, if it's corporate information and news, we do Hoot Community, but for us, we really try and help educate people and inspire them to show their personality and have fun.
So you don't, is there anything at your brand that you can't do? Is there ways that you have to live within that as yourself? As if you're out there tweeting on your own, are you a representative of your brand or of yourself or both?
Both. I think the world we live in is you're both. If I say that I work for Hootsuite, then everything I do I need to recognize that I'm going to be professional in how I interact and embrace, you know, competitive conversations. You know, we're always going to be respectful. So, you know, I use Facebook as my personal platform to share information about my family and my kids. I don't usually post, you know, pictures of my kids necessarily on Twitter. I do that on Instagram. So I think it really depends on the network. So I think I really like to engage professionally with colleagues, but we do recognize that if you are engaging in the public, then to be professional, respectful, and kind of respect, you know, the code of business conduct. I think that's pretty standard for companies.
Great, thank you. Lorena, how about yourself? How do you see your personal and your business brand? And I'll give it just a quick second to let the audio catch up here. But how do you see your personal and your business brand working together? What are the pitfalls and the challenges, or what are the strengths that you find when you're trying to maintain those two?
Yeah. So my Twitter is my personal brand, and I talk about what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about marketing. I'm talking about technology. I'm passionate about that. I work in Pitney Bowes. I represent a line of business that is all about location intelligence. That is pretty much 70% of the content that I'm sharing. We have followers that follow GIS or our technology, and they're invested and they're passionate about like sharing those thoughts. So this has been a great platform for us to learn about them. I think that the company's been appreciate what they're saying to us, so we create content for them based on that interaction. We have a really great social media team to help us to train internally, to create advocates, not only for people who work in PV, Pitney Bowes, but also our partner community. I think that we as a company, we're embracing more and more social media. We know the power of social media. And I think that it's important to be true to yourself. I don't believe that you need to create a persona. I think that you need to be yourself. Share about where you work, what you do, what is around you, and also what you're passionate about. I love to run, I love to travel, and people know that I'm doing that, and people relate to that because, you know, we create emotions, or they have been in my country, Chile, and they want to talk about it, and I love it. So I think that we got a lot of help for our corporate social media team to help us to navigate and train people so they know how to do social media, and, you know, what is kind of like the line that we don't want to cross, right? But I think that overall everybody's very respectful about what can we do and we cannot do. It's almost like having a conversation face to face, right? You know what you cannot say.
I love it, and I know we do that all the time. So I can honestly say that that is exactly what you do. So thank you, and Tammy, how about yourself? How do you see your personal brand and your and IBM really coming together? Let me just make sure, because I know you've had some. We've been having a little bit of a technical challenge here, so I want to make sure that you can see and hear us, which might be the case, so we may just jump right back over. Yep, we had her, but she's gone. Oh, she's back. Teasing us.
That's what you get for live events, right? It's all very exciting.
All right, so we're going to wait and see if she can come through, and in the meantime, I'll keep this going. What are some of the challenges that you see that businesses have in helping to arm their employees with being conversationalists? How can they help do what you guys do to help them understand what to say and how to say it, or how free they can be? You know, we've seen all kinds of examples over the last, especially the last 2 years, where there has been a pretty big breakdown in communication, whether it's on the brand side or on the employee side. How can we get this to be a better place so that employees can feel free to speak and know how and when to do it? Jeanette, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. I was going to say IBM has a lot to say too, because they do so many amazing things with all their employee engagement. One of the things we found is employee advocacy is definitely a huge area that we're seeing a lot of people talk about, and a lot of our clients actually looking at. And one of the things that we've seen, and I think Tammy mentioned this at the beginning, that we were all kind of broadcasting, and I think that's been the first phase of employee engagement, is have employees amplify, corporate news and activities. And I think what we're starting to see now is a lot of ways to create specific engagements with employees to share, and offering them those guardrails so they have a contest or a specific campaign. I partner a lot with our talent team for like hashtag Hootsuite Life, and really talking about how great it is to work there. And so we'll share pictures of, when people are attending a meeting or a conference, or going to the local taco truck outside, or grabbing a beer after work. So we really try and encourage people to share what it's like to work at the company, to give a behind-the-scenes view. So that's one really fun way to get employees involved, is whatever company, to have the hashtag your company life kind of hashtag. But then another thing is to think proactively about campaigns to engage your employees. And we did something with Social Media Week in September, where we wanted to get employees involved in Social Media Week, and so we created a specific contest for them to, share your first tweet, for example, and we asked employees to do that, as well as, of course, all of our larger community. And it was really fun to see people's first tweets, and we did little contests where people, were the winner, and we would showcase their tweets, and and then it got into sharing, some things you're passionate about, and some employees shared their favorite charities and how they were able to raise money. So I think if you give them some campaigns and ideas so that they can understand how to engage. Otherwise, everyone is just amplifying the same news. So I think that's a real good best practice. And we're now finding that every campaign we do, we sit down with HR and say, what is a unique engagement we can do for employees so they can feel a part of it and that is special, and then we can create some special rewards for employees internally.
I like that. I rarely hear of companies, or especially social, where they're actually going to HR and asking to partner with them to share. Usually I hear the two trying to work against each other or working in silos. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So Tammy, I think we got you all situated. Let's see if this works here. And I want to go back into personal and business brand. How do you keep the two separate? How do you keep them coincide? Where do you see them fitting together, especially with your own brand? And you've done a really good job of building up, your brand. But how did you do that? And how do you see IBM working within that?
We try to, make sure that employees understand the IBM brand and our overall kind of mission as a brand, and we do have social media policy guidelines, and they were actually created by a community. There was an open wiki, and people just kind of put their ideas and wrote down what they thought should be IBM's social computing guidelines, and which I think is a really nice way to do it, because it sort of involved the early adopters, and made it sort of the people, so to speak. And then we codified those and worked with HR and I'm sure legal, and published those. But they're they are very liberal in terms of what you're allowed to do. I mean, you just don't want to do anything in violation that would be against the IBM brand. I mean, it's really some pretty basic human stuff that you probably wouldn't want to do as a human being anyway. So, I think I agree with Lorena in terms of, you do really want to let your your personality shine through, as opposed to feeling like sort of a brand, sort of a brand voice, which is actually less interesting. And so the idea is to bring out those collection of individual voices. And I do some once in a while, I'll do some kind of soft selling of, our marketing tools, or, different webcasts or marketing tactics. But I really do try to keep, much of the content, educational in nature, or personal nature, or around, marketing activities that I find to be best practices or would be valuable to my audience, in really trying to provide value.
Great. How did you, what was the number one thing for you that got your brand up and running as a personal brand, and how do you feel, that went? Are you happy with how it went?
Well, I think starting a blog was, helped me to have, it kind of helped me, I guess, to sort of codify my own brand, who I was, what my voice was. As I write my blog, I think, if I look back, when I first started it, my voice maybe, or my tone or topics have evolved a little bit. And, I think that helps me to have original content. And also I take some of that, thinking around. I usually try to make it marketing we're changing so rapidly right now. I try to make it about a relevant topic, and then I'll try to keep that theme going over the course of over a month. I'd love to be an author like yourself, Brian. I haven't gotten there, but I do think providing original content, as well as being a content aggregator, as well as engaging with people who are in your community, are probably the three overarching principles that I try to keep in mind.
Great. And you all three need to be authors, so that's just going to happen. Lorena, let me ask you here, just kind of flipping back over now that we've kind of caught up here. One of the things that we were talking about was how to help employees to be more social. What's your thought on that?
So we started this journey, and I think it was 2 years ago, with our social media team again. They are the ones driving this and helping us to do this. I'm a product marketing person, so I am representing my customer, right, and my team and the product. I think that training, right, giving the tools to our employees and also to our partners to help us to just put out our technology and our solution has been great. Just giving the tools, giving the training, and it's like swimming. You can talk about swimming for hours, watch video. Guess what? You need to get in the pool and do some laps. You need to really get and do it. So I think that having that and getting people to do it, and then having a catch up where they can tell us what are they doing, what is working, not working, and then we share our learnings. It's been really helpful. Also, we start a project where we get our sales team now to be more social. And I think that that's one of my favorite examples, because as a salesperson, right, you say, well, marketing people, they should be in social and they're good about doing it. But guess what? Everybody's really good about sharing thoughts and being a thought leader, right? You can work in finance, you can work in sales, you can work in any part of the company, even, anything. Now our sales team got very engaged with social media, and I love to see that, they try to reach out to someone via LinkedIn or some other venues or channels, could be a phone call or like an email, and they get no response. But they engage via social, and guess what? That person is active. They get right away to that person responds back to them, and then they connect in the other, social media channels or LinkedIn or so what. So some people are hanging out in Twitter, and you get their attention. You will get their attention in the other social media channels. So I think that it's very interesting to see the dynamic with different groups, and also learning and getting back to, everybody on a call and say, look, this is what is working for this group or this region, and we all share. So I think that that's been working for all of us.
That seems to be a running trend with everyone here is sharing, and I don't mean sharing socially, but sharing internally, like best practices and how to move content through, and how to actually get people engaged. There's a whole sharing component that I'm hearing from all three of you, that happens just internally before it goes externally. But I want to make sure that we also have time for questions. We've got questions coming in off of Twitter. We have one from Sugar Mike, Cigar, S-A-G-A-R, Mike. I almost thought it was sugar. And maybe I just want a cigar. I don't know. So his question is, isn't personal branding about using social channels to add personality to a corporate brand and build like and trusted factors? Let me read that again because I want to make sure I understand it. Isn't personal branding about using social channels to add personality to a corporate brand? I think it's using social channels as the factors within those. Does that make sense to you guys? So, Janet, yeah, go ahead, Tammy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I also think, I don't think it's just about the corporate brand, right? I mean, in a sense, it's also about your own brand. I mean, I think there is a career aspect to it as well. I think you are a better leader and a better executive representing your company because you have a social presence. But I also think there's a personal benefit to it in terms of your own personal, learning, your own personal stature in the community, as well as the extension of your brand.
And I think it comes into a good topic around thought leadership, right? I mean, because companies can promote their own thought leadership and explore new topics through social. Like I think about with Hootsuite, our CEO Ryan Holmes posts a lot of content on LinkedIn, and really enjoys the kind of comments that he sees from LinkedIn. And for us as a brand, it's really important for when he posts a comment, whether it's about an update of what's going on in the mobile industry or what's going on in Brazil for internet and adoption, then we look at, okay, are those trends that we should be thinking about as a company? So we're looking at those commentary on a lot of thought leadership content we put out there, and that's influencing what we say as a brand. So I think that listening, engaging, and responding is really exciting, but I do agree with Tammy's point that as executives, you have a tremendous ability to show personality, but also thought leadership, and that might be on Pinterest, it might be on Instagram, might be on LinkedIn. So I think all channels should be open to brands.
Great.
Lorena, any thoughts there?
No, I totally agree. And the only thing I think that it's so easy to be true to yourself and just you show a little bit of who you are, and people and everybody pick up very easily, and then you're like, oh, that person is fun and they're doing the same stuff that I'm doing, and then you get so many connections, right? And I know that you're traveling from Instagram before you tweet about it sometimes, right? And so it's just fun to just see that, and you know, we know that LinkedIn is a little bit more serious, and we all kind of like have an agreement over there. But you know that you can be a little bit more playful on Instagram, and Twitter is kind of like in between. And I think that we all kind of like it. And you know, Facebook is Facebook, and that's for friends and family and a very close group of friends. So I totally agree with those ladies.
Great. I have a question here from Linda. Do you find that Twitter is the main channel to engage in conversation? What about Instagram? So obviously that tags onto what you were just saying, Lorena. And why don't we have you take that, Lorena, since you were just kind of talking about that?
Well, I think that Twitter right now is my favorite. You know, I never stop tweeting. And I remember, because I've not been doing this for a while, I was so conservative. And sometimes I was just like, honestly, thinking for a tweet for over 10 minutes. Like, what should I say? What should I share? But then it becomes so natural. And right now, it's my favorite. I read something in the New York Times or any newspaper, and you know, I go and I look for the author, and I share the information and engage with that conversation, and you see hundreds of people talking about, and it's Sunday and everybody's having a coffee, and you're all talking about the same thing. So it's just in the moment, right? And sometimes I just joke with my husband, and I said, he's reading something to me, and I grab the phone, and he's like, are you tweeting before I'm tweeting? And I'm like, yeah, too late, because, you know, I just want to just engage with other people's what they are saying. I love Instagram, but Instagram for me is all about an image. It's very difficult to put content there, thought leader, you know, to drive people to something. Could be a blog or could be an article in a newspaper. So for me, Twitter is the #1 channel.
And let's see, Tammy, do you agree? Is that Twitter your favorite channel?
Where personally for me, Twitter and Facebook. I also really like the communities that you can build on Facebook. Is a little bit of I think people on Facebook tend to read their news feed and know their communities, whereas Twitter, you know, the news feed, you know, as you're following so many people and so many people are following you, can be a little bit more sporadic in terms of, you know, the people you're able to follow. You could of course do lists, but I do think it's getting harder, you know, to reach out above the noise on Twitter because it's such a crowded, you know, it's such a crowded, popular network. So we're also doing more, and we're finding more success as a brand on LinkedIn as well, where there's more, you know, there seems to be even more engagement around experts on particular topics, and finding the right communities to engage in as a brand as well.
Yeah, especially in LinkedIn groups. But go ahead, Jeanette.
No, I was gonna say, I think Twitter gives you the biggest reach to jump in, and for us, since our users are all over the world, Facebook is a really big one for us, especially in Europe and Latin America. And I love what we're seeing with the visual medium with Instagram when we're doing contests and images and engagement. You know, it's really exciting to see the level of creativity and the user engagement we see when we do something on Instagram. So I think, you know, we're definitely seeing the challenge, or brands are going to have to think a lot about visual first, and a lot of our users are looking on the mobile device, and, you know, scrolling through Instagram on mobile is really powerful. But it's interesting. I definitely am, you know, using Instagram, but I feel like the next generation of workers are more comfortable all over Instagram, right? And so we have to think about the digital natives as they're coming into the workforce. They're very visual and sharing differently.
So here's a question from Michael. What do you all three as conversationalists believe in that will happen to email?
Well, I don't think email is ever going to go away, but I think people are trying to find ways to manage it. I'm certainly seeing a lot of apps to manage your inbox better, but we've been talking about email going away for like 15 years, and it's not. But I do think we're getting better at how we use all of our internal communications to collaborate with employees. So I'm seeing that at my company on using email, like using collaborative tools like Yammer to be able to have those engagements and try and do less with email. But yeah, I don't think email is going to die, but I'd love to hear what other people say.
I actually, for my out of office, I always put, if you want to reach me faster, then tweet me.
It's totally true.
I really will answer a tweet faster than I'll answer email, and I don't know why I'm that way. It's a sickness of some kind. I don't know what it is. Lorena, what's yours? What do you think about email?
You know, I agree. I don't think the email is going to go away, but for me, emails is to get things done. You know, do I need to do something? I go and do it, but it's not really for, you know, engage in a conversation or anything like that. It's just let's just get this done. And I'm with you. If someone want to just get me, they tweet me, they text me, they just stalk me.
I know.
And they go they go different ways, but they know that they're going to get my attention in Twitter.
Yeah, they use bat signals, homing pigeons, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and then you're busted, right? You're skiing in Tahoe, and then, oh, I thought you were in a meeting. Busted.
Tammy, you represent a brand that just brought out. This is kind of a cool question for you because your brand just brought out a kind of an answer to this. But what's your personal view?
Yeah, it kind of combines all of the, you know, sort of your social networking internally and externally, and helps you to, I think, have a more social version of email is the idea.
And that's IBM Verbs, right?
Yes, yes. And I think, you know, I think it is important to bring in those social elements into. I think this is sort of the thinking, right? To bring in those social elements into how you work. So we try much more to use, you know, portals and video chat. Our corporate messaging system actually now has a video chat on it, so you can just, you know, rather than text somebody who's online or in your network, you can just pop up a quick video or an instant meeting. And just having that as a network is just so much. It's just better. It's more it's just much more engaging to have, especially we're such a global company. I spend much of my day with people around the world, and so being able to really see them or collaborate in a, you know, using a social tool or collaboration kind of a network is a much more powerful way, I think, to work, and it's making a difference.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have another another question from Joey. He asked, conversationalists are brand champions and also industry thought leaders, but do conversations with competitors ever conflict? Why don't we, since we're with you right now, Tammy, why don't we stay with you for that answer?
Do conversations with competitors ever conflict?
So I think what he's asking is on social media, if you're a conversationalist and a competitor reaches out and wants to ask a question, is the response appropriate? I mean, you are a conversationalist. It's in your nature to reply. Do you reply? I think the nice thing is to. But
yeah.
You know, what's the...
It's true, I do, and you know, so often you're a competitor, and you're also a customer, and they're also a partner, you know. So we have very few, you know, people that don't. I mean,
Uh-oh.
we start to have this anything going on, where, you know, you have you know, or out there.
Hold on. We're having a little bit of video disconnect. We're gonna move. Why don't we move over to Lorena? Lorena, what do you think about that? When, I mean, you guys are working for some pretty big brands here. So what happens when that outreach happens, and obviously you want to engage, you want to be a conversationalist?
Yeah, so we are, as Tammy was mentioning, sometimes you compete, but sometimes you partner, and sometimes you're also a customer. So we're very careful about engaging and how to engage and who need to respond and respond what. We usually just send an email between the social media team and the person connected with that product, and then we make a decision what to say or where to point, because also sometimes, you know, you don't want to grab people's attention to the wrong subject or start something that, you know, should have not even started.
Right.
So sometimes we decide, you know what, we're going to let it go. We're not going to engage in that conversation because we know that it's not going to have a positive end. And I think that Twitter and social media in general is all about positive.
Yeah.
Right? So I will say that we craft it as a group, and we make a call and you know, it takes seconds because we're all just looking the same thing. So we're all, you know, paying attention, and that could be, you know, globally. Something can be happening in EMEA or Asia Pacific, and we're all kind of like engaged one single group looking at all of this.
Great. Great, good answer. Jeanette, what about yourself?
Well, I think Tammy mentioned a good point that, you know, we're all people and we all work for different companies at different times. So I think in general it's being respectful and professional of everybody. And if someone wants to pick a fight, then maybe that's not the time to jump in on a fight and to, like, you know, we might see something that is more product or feature related, so we'll forward that on to our support team to engage in a discussion if someone wants to know about features. But I think, you know, for me, I think part of my guiding principle is, I think overall any kind of conversations opportunity to say, is this something that I need to correct the facts? Are these facts wrong? Or is an opportunity to transition it to someone else in the company to respond? But you know, I think you have to look at it on a case-by-case basis.
So I'm going to ask a question here. There are other questions, but I just wanted to make sure that this one kind of got addressed. You know, I just wrote about this new terminology called invective marketing. It's where somebody becomes a thought leader. They become a person that has a large following, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook or wherever it is, and they have the numbers. They've got 100,000. They've got 200,000 Twitter followers, and now they can shout from the rooftops anything they want. Typically invective marketers are not nice. They're either angry or combative or want to debate. This is happening more and more, and it's harder for brands or people to debate people that have large followings, at least in numbers. And you might call them you know, bullies or whatever, but they have this following. So as people start to build this social credibility, if you will, that we've all pointed to as being a numbers game more than anything else, unfortunately. How do you see that working? How do you see trolls and the social trolls and social bullies that have credibility, that have the numbers? They're not just everyday tweeters, but they're actually out there combating a product or you. How do you address that? Do you ignore it or do you address it? Where do you see it heading?
I'll jump in on one thing and say one of the things that we look at is for the community. That's where your fans come into play and where your community can support you. So instead of the brand jumping in, I would, you know, we often take a step back and see who's going to jump in that's, you know, in our industry or, you know, can help respond. Because I think people can see through that, even if they have a large following. If they're bullies, and they're not going to be swayed either way. So I think we have, you know, sometimes we'll reach out to our ambassadors if they want to comment, but we'll take a step back and watch and see if it's appropriate for us to engage. But I think those people, you start seeing things being self-policed where people realize, hey guys, tone it down, that's not appropriate, that's not the right forum for this conversation.
Great, thank you. Lorena, how about yourself?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Sometimes we have seen a couple things happen, and again, with the social media team and all group, we decide, let's just hold it. Someone else is gonna jump in and, you know, give an answer, and it's gonna have more credibility because it's coming from the user community or from our partner community, or someone who is just, you know, can respond in a different way. Yeah. So we let, you know, a couple hours pass or minutes. We know that we're so used to now with Twitter that people need to answer like in seconds, right? But we let it just sit there and see how this is going to be developing, right? Because you don't need to jump and the brand needs to own and respond everything. You can let your partners, you can let your customer, your community to just, you know, be your champions out there.
Great. Tammy, how about yourself? I think Tammy has You can't hear Tammy, unfortunately. You may have to come back to her. Tammy, if you want to lower or adjust your bandwidth down one more time, that may help. I'm gonna ask. I'll swing back around to Tammy, and we'll. I think we've just got 5 minutes here left. So one of the things that I wanted. Oh, I have a question here from Lynn Abate Johnson. It's a great question. What is the day in the life of each of you? What does your day consist of when it comes to conversations? And I'll extend that a little bit because Twitter has 140 characters, so she can't ask a full question. But as it pertains specifically to conversing online, how much time do you dedicate every day to doing that? Jeanette, do you want to
That's
start?
a good idea because I feel like I pop in and out each day. So a couple things I do is I'll check in definitely morning, lunch, and end of day. So I definitely have check-ins, first thing in the morning. But I'm kind of popping in and out all day. I work for social media companies, so I'm probably unique in that. I'm always trying to be online. But I also schedule messages for the next week or two. So we look at what's going on, and that really helps me as far as scheduling content ahead of time. And also recognizing time zones, and so I use our auto schedule function, and I schedule content. So and obviously if there's an event or something like this going on, it's really a great opportunity to kind of capture that. So I will capture a stream for this hashtag, and then I'll follow that throughout the week and see if there's any other conversations that are coming up that I need to engage in.
Great.
So for me, organizing my dashboard is great to be able to keep track of those conversations and what do I need to engage on.
Man, being a person who works at Hootsuite, there's no pressure, right?
I know, exactly. Have to be on every channel all the time. That's why workflow and routing work so well. And scheduling tweets.
Lorena, how about yourself? How much time do you spend each day on being a conversationalist?
I got the feeling that now I'm spending less time than before, because I try to go in conversations and out, and I know what I'm looking for, what the people that I care, or the topics that I care, where conversations are happening. I will say that I spend some time in the morning. Sometimes I love to spend a lot of time while I'm working out, and I'm sitting down, on my treadmill, and then I'm doing it because it just seems like, a good way to spend my time while I'm working out, and I love to do that. I do jump from channel to channel, so I do a lot of research in our LinkedIn groups because we have a lot of community and conversations happening. And then I go and see what they're watching in our YouTube channels, and because I can see what kind of videos are grabbing their attention and watching over and over again. So that helped me to create a blog and then to tweet about it. So we kind of dance between the different channels that we have, that we create an ecosystem. So I will say that I spend solid 3 to 3 hours a day, but in different times during the entire day. That doesn't seem heavy because I also enjoy it and help me to get to know better my buyers and my users, my community, and what they care about. So what they care about is what I care about, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I need to start working out so I can do that too.
I think it's impressive you're reading Twitter while you're on the treadmill.
I know. Talk about trying to hold
maybe you're just watching Instagram.
Tammy, we did Tammy's test run actually while she was at the gym, so I know she works out. So Tammy, I think you're coming across now. So tell me, what is the day in the life of being a conversationalist like? What does that look like for you?
Sometimes people ask me, why do you schedule tweets sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning? What's your strategy? And my strategy is that I can't sleep. So I don't actually ever schedule tweets, and I use Hootsuite more for if I'm at an event or if I'm, we're running a campaign. But personally, I actually use the plain old Twitter app, and I'm sort of, frankly, I'm a little haphazard about it, and I find I do absolutely work to make sure I spend at least probably a half hour a day on social sites. I love to look at Facebook and Twitter in particular, and Instagram as well for best practices in brands. I look at all different brands and watch how they're driving campaigns, and frankly, shamelessly steal ideas when I find them. I find the industry is moving so quickly. It's a great way to kind of see the trends and see new ideas. And then I don't know, I guess for the brand, we run what I call a content desk, which is, really understanding, on a regular basis, what trends would tie into your brand. So what's hot in tech sector, this month, and do we have a relevant play or a story? And we work with a team of journalists and to build both social content and more traditional content, and make sure that we drive engagement through by understanding what's hot that week or that month.
Oh, that's great. So it sounds like you're on social a lot, depending upon where the focus is. So it's not necessarily just on yourself, but it could be across the board based upon IBM or yourself, or if it's 3 in the morning.
Yep.
And I often tweet with you at 3 in the morning, so so I can't. We're out of time here, and I wanted to thank you three for being here and for sharing your ideas and your thoughts, and just taking the hour to be with everyone. I know they enjoyed it. The tweet stream is going off right now, and I'm sure if there's any questions that they point at you guys are the conversationalists, so they will hear back from you. Thank you guys so much. As I mentioned before to everyone, there are 2 more coming. The next 2 are focused on the other 2 categories, which is brand champions and amplifiers. So that will be the next 2 categories. The next one will be in the 2nd to 3rd week of January, and then again early February. So thank you all for attending, and again, thank you guys for being here. And one final thank you to Lead Tail, who did all the research and helped to sponsor this and really put a lot of time and effort into helping this to come through. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.